Welcome back. Well, markets holding in the green, but select stocks are seeing some selling actually from the recent peak. Ultratech Cement, well, the street has digested this news. Now they're happy that in fact, they're getting this asset. The stock has come off the high point of the day, but you just pull up a last 1 month chart. The stock had gone down all the way to sub the 3,500 levels. So it saw a big run, and now from the top, in fact, it's seeing some profit booking. So it's still up close to around 7% in the last 1 month or so. You have Cipla as well. That's seeing some selling pressure in the last few minutes. But Manisha is with us. She's going to run us through what's going on in the commodity space. Manisha.
Thank you so much for that. Well, yes, we have seen the metal prices continue to be quite volatile. There are a few things that the markets are looking for in the international space. One, of course, is the US dollar, which seems slightly subdued today, and that has been supportive. On the other side, it continues to be the US and China trade dispute. There is some optimism finally coming through, as we have seen a written response from China and a verbal one coming in from US saying that they're not looking to put any additional tariffs as of now on Chinese goods. So far so good, and that's led to some buying into the markets. But even now, until we continue to see the Chinese data weak and there is a concrete statement coming in from China and US on the trade concerns, the markets will continue to be quite volatile. But we have for you an exclusive conversation. Joining me now is Matthew Chamberlain, CEO of London Metal Exchange, with us to have a conversation on what he thinks about the Indian metal brands and the Indian metal trading as well. Matthew, hi, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, we do understand that LME is looking at warehouses in the Indian space as well. I mean, LME has warehouses in most countries, and Asia now becoming so important, India too. What is your sense? How far is that being done? What conversation are you doing with the authorities?
Yeah, well, I think we've always said at the LME that India is a hugely important part of our global business. There's a lot of activity in the metals market from India, and we have a global warehouse network which reflects the supply and demand patterns of our global business. So in that spirit, it's absolutely right that we think about, would it be possible to bring India into the global warehousing network which supports the physical delivery of our contracts. So I think it's something that we're very keen to explore. Clearly it would need engagement on both sides to be able to put in place the right structure, but it's certainly an aspiration that we at the LME are pleased to share with our stakeholders here in India.
Matthew, also, Asia, as it is becoming important for the global markets in sense of production and the kind of consumption numbers that we're looking at as well. But first of all, with China coming out with more metal contracts, trying to take over the global pricing reference point in some sense, how has it been with China exchange, China metal contracts for you? What kind of a competition has it created for you?
Yeah, so we listed our first Indian brand back, I think, in 2003, and since then we've seen very strong growth of the listed Indian metal brands. And that's hugely valuable, I think, for both sides. For the LME, it's great to have those high-quality Indian brands in our global brand network. It means there's more stock, more liquidity for the contracts, and clearly when people buy metal on the LME, they're always pleased that the quality of the brands, particularly the Indian brands, is very high. From the side of the Indian producers, clearly the LME brand listing is very helpful for them because it effectively increases the set of users who can make use of that metal, which is a positive for them. So the brand listings of the LME, of the Indian producers on the LME, is really a win-win for both sides.
Well, absolutely. Almost all major Indian metal companies either are listed on LME or hedge their positions on LME as well. And as you said, of course, this is a big deal for as you look at the exposure that these metal companies get into the international markets there. But also, Matthew, how are you looking at China really, launching newer contracts in metal? How has been the competitive or arbitrage opportunities then arising because of that?
We've always seen our relationship with China and the Chinese exchanges as extremely cooperative and mutually beneficial. So actually back in 2012, as you probably know, the LME was bought by the Hong Kong exchanges and clearing, and I think that's a very strong sign, exactly as you said, of that growing linkage between China and the global metals markets. But I think it's important to recognise that we're still a global market, one with a big Chinese involvement. There's a lot of arbitrage between the domestic Chinese prices and the global LME price, and I think that will only continue to develop. So we really don't see it as a case of competition or cannibalization. It's much more the fact that there's a lot of synergy, a lot of arbitrage, a lot of trading activity between the Chinese and the LME global market.
Matthew, one final question, and the metal demand really seems to be increasing in the Asian markets right now. That of course is one point, because we do take LME prices as reference, and with more commodity exchanges now coming in for India, what do you see LME as? Are you looking to partner with more exchanges in India rather?
It's indisputable the significant and growing importance of India in the global metals industry, both in terms of production, fabrication and consumption. I think that will only continue to grow as the economic story develops. And so, like I say, for us, it's about having those brand listings, which brings us closer to the Indian producers. It's about our fantastic tie-up with the Indian exchanges, MCX, doing very good volumes on the basis of our pricing, and the continued development of that, perhaps even looking at warehousing initiatives. So, I think a great story here in India, and it's a geography that we are very committed to.
All right, so that really is Matthew Chamberlain, CEO of LME, talking exclusively to us, where he says that they are looking at exploring warehousing opportunities with India, and that India is an important part of their networking in sense of warehouses, and of course the global metal brands as well, which are listed and do hedge there.
Okay, Manisha, thank you very much for that conversation. The mid-caps are actually picking pace, and now higher by close to about 0.5%, outperforming the benchmark indices. Get into a break. We'll come back with more on the markets.